I saw them this morning, before I'd even had my coffee. A thin line, right along the edge of the counter, coming out from behind the sugar bowl I forgot to close last night. Not 2 or 3 of them wandering around lost. A line, organized, moving in both directions like they'd done this 100 times before, because they probably had. And my first thought wasn't even about the ants themselves. It was about Friday, because my grandson is coming to stay the weekend, and the last thing I want is him crawling around near a can of something with a skull on the label under my sink, or a line of ants marching across the kitchen floor, like they own the place, while he's trying to build a block tower 2 feet away. If you've ever stood there in your own kitchen, coffee not even made yet, staring at that thin little line and feeling that mix of disgust and pure exhaustion, the not this again feeling, stay with me for the next few minutes. Because what's actually sitting in a $4 box in most of our pantries right now does more against ants than anything you'll find in the entire bug spray aisle. And it does it without a single chemical fume you'd have to worry about with a toddler on the floor or a dog sniffing around where you don't want him sniffing. By the time we're done here, you'll know exactly what's in that box, exactly where to put it, how much to use, and the one thing almost nobody ever tells you, the thing that's the actual difference between this working for good and this just moving your ant problem 2 rooms over for a week.
Now, before I show you what works, I want to tell you what I got wrong, because I think it'll save you some time. For years, my answer to ants was the same as most people's. Grab whatever spray was under the sink, whatever smelled the strongest, because strong felt like it meant it was working. I'd spray the counter, spray the baseboard, sometimes spray right where I saw them coming from, and for a day, maybe 2, it looked like it had worked. Then they'd show up again, not in the same spot. That's the part that used to confuse me, but 2 feet over, by the stove, or suddenly up along the windowsill, where I hadn't seen a single ant all summer. I thought I had a bigger problem developing. What I actually had was the exact same problem, just relocated, because that spray was never solving anything. All it does is tell the ants, not here, and they simply reroute. They don't leave, they reorganize. That's the part nobody explains, and it's the part that changes everything the moment you actually understand it. A few ants on your kitchen counter aren't the problem itself. They're a message. Somewhere in this house, and I mean somewhere specific, not a vague somewhere, there is a gap, sometimes no wider than a pencil, that's letting an entire colony come and go as they please, and every single ant you're seeing on that counter is just one worker out of a group that could number in the thousands, all living somewhere you'll never actually lay eyes on. I want to say that clearly, because I know how it sounds. This is not something to feel disgusted about, or ashamed of, or like you've somehow let your house go. It's something to feel clear about. Once you understand that the ants you see are a symptom and not the disease, you stop fighting individual ants 1 spray can at a time, and you start doing the one thing that actually ends this, closing a door they've been quietly using all along. I think about my neighbor down the road when I explain this, because she's the clearest example I've ever seen. She has, without a doubt, the cleanest kitchen on this entire street. Counters you could genuinely eat off of. Nothing left out overnight. Not a crumb, not a drop of syrup, not once. And she is the one who fights ants worse than anyone else on this block, every single summer, like clockwork. It took her 2 full years to figure out what I'm about to tell you in the next few minutes, because she kept assuming the problem was her housekeeping. It never was. There was a hairline crack behind her baseboard the entire time. She found it eventually, purely by accident, moving a cabinet, and no amount of wiping down counters, no matter how spotless she kept that kitchen, was ever going to fix a gap she didn't even know existed. So, before we go any further, I want to ask you something, and I want you to actually answer it, either in your head or down in the comments, because it matters for what comes next. How many entry points have you truly checked in your own kitchen? Not glanced at, checked. Under the sink where the pipes come through the wall, behind the stove where nobody ever pulls it out to look, along every windowsill, especially if the caulk there has gone thin, cracked, or pulled away with age. If your honest answer is 0, that's exactly why this video is going to matter to you, and there's absolutely nothing to feel behind about. Most people are at 0. I want to know where you're starting from, because I'm going to walk you through fixing that together. Here's what's actually sitting in that $4 box, and I promise you it's simpler than anything you'd expect. It's plain borax, the kind sitting quietly in your laundry aisle, not the pest aisle, which is exactly why almost everyone walks right past it without a second glance. Mixed with a little sugar and warm water, it becomes something an ant cannot resist and cannot outrun. The ratio I use is roughly 1 tablespoon of borax to 2 tablespoons of sugar, dissolved fully into about 1.5 cups of warm water, stirred until you can't feel any grit left at the bottom of the glass. The sugar is what draws them in. Ants are looking for that sugar the way you'd look for a lit porch on a dark road. The borax is what actually does the work, but it works slowly enough that a single worker ant carries a full dose all the way back to the colony before it ever affects her personally. That delay is not a flaw in the plan. That delay is the entire plan. You are not trying to kill the ants standing on your counter this morning. You are trying to let them personally deliver the solution to every single ant you will never see. Soak a small handful of cotton balls in that mixture until they're fully saturated but not dripping down your hand, and set them out on a small square of foil or an old jar lid, something you don't mind getting slightly sticky, right along the actual path where you saw them traveling this morning. Not inside the pantry itself, not anywhere near where food sits out on your counter. Right along the edge, the baseboard, the crack behind the cabinet, wherever they are genuinely walking, because that's the road they'll use to carry it home. Leave it exactly where you put it for several days, and don't move it. Don't clean it up early because it looks like it's not working. In fact, you'll likely see more ants at first, not fewer, and I want you to know ahead of time that this is not a bad sign. That's the plan succeeding in real time. More workers finding the source, more workers carrying it home to the ones you'll never see. While that mixture is doing its quiet work over the next several days, go do the other half of this, because the bait alone was never meant to be the whole answer, only the half most people stop at. Walk your kitchen slowly, not the quick glance you do every morning, but slowly, the way you'd search a room for a ring you dropped, and look specifically for the gap. It's under the sink, exactly where the pipe meets the wall behind it. Behind the stove, which most of us haven't pulled away from the wall in years. Along every windowsill, especially the ones where the caulk has gone dry, cracked, or simply crumbled away with age and weather. A small dab of caulk from the hardware store or a piece of steel wool pressed firmly into a larger gap is the door closing for good. And it's the one step, more than any bait or spray, that actually keeps you from standing in this same spot doing all of this again in 3 weeks. And while you're at it, keep the sugar bowl closed at night. Wipe down any syrup or honey the moment it drips, and get crumbs off the counter before bed. Not because you were careless, not because you did anything wrong, but simply because an open sugar bowl left out overnight is an invitation you never meant to send, and closing it costs you nothing but a second of thought. I want to be honest with you about the limits of this too, because that honesty matters more to me than making this sound like a miracle.
This handles ants. It handles them well, and it does it safely enough to have in a house where a toddler might be crawling on the floor this weekend, or a dog might be sniffing along the baseboard, which is more than I can say for most of what's sitting under that sink right now.
But if you're still seeing that same thin line every single day for more than 2 weeks, even after trying exactly what I just showed you, or if what's coming through that gap isn't just ants but something larger getting into your walls, That's past what borax and a tube of caulk are built to solve. At that point, it's worth calling an actual pest professional rather than trying every home remedy on the internet one at a time, hoping the next one finally works. Now, I know most people handling this end up buying one spray for the kitchen, another for the pantry, something else entirely for the porch or the garden, hoping they remembered everything they'd need along the way. I already put together the complete list of what actually works, room by room, priced out and in the order you'd actually use it. Inside the full guide, 13 sections in total, with pests covered right alongside water, extreme heat, and keeping the lights on without a generator. It's pinned in the very first comment underneath this video, if you'd like a copy of the whole thing in one place. Here's the part I really want you to hear, though, underneath all of it. It's not the ants that really get to you, not deep down. It's what they quietly stand for. One more small thing that used to just get handled, and now it's you, standing at that counter by yourself, figuring it out. And I need you to hear this clearly, because I don't think anyone's told you this directly. Figuring it out on your own doesn't mean you're behind. It doesn't mean you're missing something everyone else already knows. It means you're the kind of person who notices the thin line before it becomes a full habit, and takes care of it quietly, before it becomes one more thing that reminds you of everything you used to have help with. That's what a genuinely peaceful summer in this house actually looks like. Not a kitchen that never once sees a single ant. That's not realistic, and I won't pretend it is. It's a kitchen where, the moment you do see the first one, you already know exactly what to do, calmly, without the spiral, without the dread, without reaching for whatever's under the sink, and hoping for the best. If you're the kind of person who'd rather handle something quietly than let it pile up into a bigger mess later, you're already one of the Porch Light family, whether you knew it or not. Subscribe if you'd like the next piece of this, and tell me down in the comments what you're getting squared away before your own grandkids come to visit next. Next week, I'll show you the one thing sitting in almost every pantry that quietly draws in far more than just ants, and the 5-minute fix that keeps it from ever becoming a problem at all. I'll see you there.